We get set for the first heat for the late model sportsman. Starting on the inside, row number 1, the 96 of Fred Lagoy, and on the outside, the 91 of Billy Fountain. Row number 2, the 71 of Lester Armel. Outside, the 52 of Barry Schwartz. Row 3, the 13 of Richard Bootsy, and the 66 of Joe Thomas. Doug Hoare and Lance Furno start in row 4. Danny Bridges, Steve Reddit row 5. Brian Hoare, Kevin Kezar row 6. Jacques Courchain in the 99 will start shotgun. Underway, and Billy Fountain jumps out to the early lead. Fred Lagoy loose on the 96 car, and Lagoy spins on the backstretch. As of yet, Fred has still not refired that 96. The cars are coming off of turn number 4. Now Lagoy backs the 96 off the way. We'll pick the leaders back up. As the caution will come out, Steve, as Lagoy couldn't refire that 96 car.
Well, tough break for Fred Lagoy. He refires, but the caution that comes out, also including an incident up in turn 2 that was off cameras. Richard Bootsy lost all control of the 13 and took several automobiles with him. 1 lap in the books. We'll line him up with 9 remaining, 6 to qualify.
It's Fountain on the inside, Schwartz on the outside in row 1. Gets the jump. Schwartz fights back on the outside. Now they're side by side as they head into turn 3, and Schwartz gets an advantage. Fountain hangs tough on the inside.
Crossing the stripe again, the 52, Barry Schwartz stays in the lead. Moving back now, Billy Fountain runs second, Lance Furno third. Car's starting to straighten themselves out. Different way of qualifying this evening. 3 late model sportsman heats as Barry Schwartz drifts high, loses lead, and Billy Fountain takes over the top spot. Battle for second. Thomas on the inside, Furno on the high groove. Last week's feature winner, the 76 of Reddit, tailing them both. Furno on the high side of Thomas in the battle for second. Both men chasing Wild Bill Fountain. As I was saying, 3 heats for this division. Top 6 qualify automatically to the main event. Cars that do not qualify will run 2 contests. We take the top 3 out of those. And if you still haven't qualified, a last chance race where the winner will also draw into the feature, which will allow a 25-car starting field. Now the fight up front intensifies. Billy Fountain pulls out by Carlick over the 31 of Furno. Furno has not tucked to the inside groove, has not been allowed to. Furno is stuck in the high groove, and he's going to try to make it work. Out of 4, Fountain, a Carlick at the stripe, but Furno pulls even as they go into 1. Joe Thomas ducks inside the 31. Now the 46 of Doug Hoare making a move. Make that the 45. Doug Hoare's automobile has a for sale sign on it, which makes it look like it is the 45, but that is Brian Hoare running 5th. Meanwhile, up front, it is still the 91 of Fountain and the 31 of Furno. Furno pulls even going into 3. Joe Thomas waiting for both those guys to make a mistake. 5 cars come out of turn 4 with 2 to go, and Billy Fountain hits the stripe first. It is a 5-car battle for the lead. Fountain, Furno, Thomas, Brian Hoare, and Steve Renadat. Hang on, fans. Anything goes with the top 6 qualified and 1 lap to go. Side by side, door panel. Fountain and Furno. Fountain pulls ahead because of the preferred inside groove. There is no room to move past the leaders as they come out of 4. And they come to the stripe. It is going to be Lance Furno making it work on the final lap. Lance Furno pulls off the win with the 31. Bill Fountain has to settle for second with the 91. Joe Thomas third, Brian Hoare 4th, and Steve Renadat rounds out the top 5.
And we'll give you the top 6, ladies and gentlemen. They will transfer, and it'll be like this.
We get set for heat number 2 for the late model sportsman. 6 cars to qualify. Starting on the inside of row number 1, the 8 of Ed Companion, and on the outside, the 17 of Lonnie Lackalade. Row number 2, the 70 of George Egan from Saranac Lake, and on the outside, the 57 of Jimmy Barton. Row 3, the 92 of Chris Durkee, and the 34 of Dennis Alderman. Row 4, Dennis Demers and David Gay driving car number 50 tonight. Jean-Paul Cyr in the 32 and Dave Whitcomb in the 25. The 40 is points leader Dwayne Lanfear. And starting on the outside, the 10 of Ricky LeQuire. To call the race, here's Steve Hayes.
Coming out of 4, ready and raring to go. 1 late scratch, and 99 of Roy French. And we have a yellow on the field. Ed Companion had about a 5-car length lead as they come to the stripe. And cars are forced to hit the binders, and it's not working as they do a lot of bumper banging. We'll line them up and try it again.
The green did not fly, and the caution was held. We did not have a good, clean, even start. Lonnie Lackalade and
Hey, we're going to line them up and give this another shot. Once again, it should be Ed Companion and Lonnie Lackalade making up the front row. George Egan, Jim Barton in row 2. Chris Durkee and Dennis Alderman make up row 3. The 86 of Dennis Demers and the 50 of David Gay, driving his brother Storm and Norman Gay's car tonight, make up the following road, followed by the 40 of Dwayne Lanfear, the 25 of Dave Wickham, and the 10 of Ricky LeCure. Once again, Roy French, a late scratch with the 99. Saw Roy French's car loaded and leaving the speedway as the qualifiers were hitting on the track. So apparently Roy French will not be competing tonight.
Steve, another car that's left this event is the 32 of Jean-Paul Cyr. Some front end damage on that car, and Cyr has headed to the pits.
Now Jean-Paul Cyr, as I look in the pits, as you keep an eye on the pack, Jean-Paul Cyr coming back on the track. Points leader Dwayne Lanfear in this race. He leads by 26 points over Steve Miller. Miller will be in the 3rd and final qualifier. We are watching very closely. A very, very slow field as they come out of turn 4. Ed Companion in the 8, Lonnie Lackalade in the 17. As slow as I've ever seen him come out of 4 as they get the green. Jim Barton splits them. Ed Companion jumps out to lead. Jimmy Barton moves into 2nd. The 17 of Lonnie Lackalade now back up to Barton. Jimmy Barton, who made a great move to get up to 2nd as he chases the number 8 of Ed Companion for the top spot. Companion leads Barton to the stripe. Lonnie Lackalade sits there with a 17. That number 57 machine you're looking at, Jimmy Barton's car, was built by the Robbie Crouch organization. So it's been built correctly, no doubt, as Crouch always seems to have a good car. Trouble up at 4. Companion gets tapped into the wall. Everyone trying to avoid him as the number 8 of pole sitter. And Companion hits the wall. He's got a lot of work to do. One down and 9 to go. Jim Barton and Lonnie Lackalade make up the front row. Remember, the top 6 will automatically qualify in tonight's main event. Green flag is out. Barton and Lackalade side by side at the stripe. 86 of Dennis Demers doing the sandwich move. He splits the 2 automobiles to move into 2nd. Lackalade was in no man's land, and now Demers goes to the front spot, but the yellow flag has come out. I have no idea why. The yellow flag is shown out of the speedway, so Jim Barton, Dennis Demers, they'll all line themselves up. Reason for the caution as I look at turn 2. Points leader Dwayne Lanfear is sitting off of the turn, so we'll have to line him up and try it again. They are all set up, ready and raring to go. Jim Barton, Lonnie Lackalade once again set them on their way. 6 to qualify, but only 8 remain. Barton and Lackalade head into turn 1. Chris Durkee moves to the inside of the 17 machine. Lackalade has got to try to get down in the inside groove. He is losing track position by staying high so far. Barton comes out of 4 with Chris Durkee now moving into 2nd. Battle for 3rd between Wickham and Lackalade. No contest. Wickham takes 3rd, and now Demers takes 4th, and Lackalade is moving back in a hurry. Now Wickham pulls to the inside of the Durkee machine. Contact between Demers and Durkee. They're both straying them out as they come out of 4. With Demers getting the nod over Durkee at the stripe. Jean-Paul Cyr with a 32 now moves under Durkee. Now Lonnie Lackalade is sitting 6th. that means he is on the bubble. Moving our way back to the front of the pack, the 57 of Barton is separating himself by about 8 car lengths over Dave Wickham, 25. Wickham closes up at the turn, but the man you're looking at, Barton, is having it all his own way so far. Next time by, we'll mark the halfway mark.
I believe as we check the card as they come down.
5 down and 5 to go for Jimmy Barton. Dave Wickham in the 25 sits second. Remember, these guys this Saturday night, the final Saturday night show of the regular season, 100-lap main event for the late models. Wickham has closed the gap up as he is within a car and a half, maybe 2 car lengths behind the Barton machine. Dave Wickham over the past couple of weeks has been one of the fastest cars on the speedway, so it's no surprise that he's reeled in the 57 machine. Wickham looks to the outside, now makes his move on the high groove. Barton stays low. Barton with the preferred line stays in front by Carlin, but as they go down into turn 3, Wickham is starting to pull alongside. Dennis Demers is caught up to these two as they come off of 4, 2 laps to go. It is Barton, Wickham, and Demers, a 3-car battle for the top spot. Dave Wickham stuck on the high side. Dennis Demers with the 86 is taking the low move away from him. 1 more lap to go, this time past the stripe. Wickham making his move as he pulls alongside, going into 1. Barton stays on the low side. This could be another close one at the line, fans. Wickham noses ahead. Barton takes the top spot again going into the turn. As they come out of 4, Jim Barton has clearly taken over the lead. Barton will win it. The 25 of Wickham finishes second. Dennis Demers third. Jean-Paul Cyr fourth, and Chris Durkee rounds out the top 5.
Well, we've seen so far in the first 2 heats for the late model sportsman that this new format, 6 cars to qualify, is certainly proving, Steve, to give us some exciting racing.
It'll even get more exciting as we get to the consies in the last chance race, where you have to finish even higher up to make it into the main event.
Heat 3 for the late models. The 64, Bucko Branham. The 42 of Tony Poisson, row 1. Steve Menton, Pete Fecto, row 2. Monty Lemaire in the 49, Bucko Branham in the 63. Red Meat in the 1, Jim Silly in 68. The 0 of Brent Dragon, the 2 of Norm Andrews, the 00 of Steve Miller, the 80 of Mike Knapp. Here's Steve to call the race.
Green flag is out, and Tony Poisson jumps out to the early lead over Robin Branham. Moving back to the pack, the 49 of Mark Lamphere dives to the inside of Minsky Mitten. And Mark Lamphere, like he shot out of a cannon, has found a fast groove. Coming out of 4, it is Robin Branham once again taking over the top spot. And Tony Poisson this time is the man stuck in the high groove. And Mark Lamphere again moves to the inside. Mark Lamphere is making up all sorts of ground with the inside line. As they come out to complete another lap, Robin Branham has Pete Fecto all over his back bumper. Mark Lamphere is sitting third. Now Fecto looks at the inside of Robin Branham. Not only looks, but makes the move in a big way. Fecto takes the top spot, and it is Robin Branham who is stuck in the high groove now. Fecto a little loose coming off the turn, but he'll still lead it at that time past his right. Contact between Lamphere and the 64 Branham, but everybody straightens it out. Now Silly makes his move to the inside of Mark Lamphere. Lamphere gets the car straightened out, but Silly got some position under him, and Silly takes the spot. 3 wide coming out of the turn, and there is the 00 of Miller. Steve Miller, the man to make a move in the points championship. Dwayne Lamphere went out on a hook the last qualifier, so Miller could make up all sorts of ground tonight. Halfway this time by. Now Steve Miller drove to the outside. outside, and he has to pass one more car to make it into the main event. Back up front in the battle for third, Bucko Brandon to the inside of his brother Robin. Bucko takes the spot from Robin. Bucko now moves into third. The two top men, Jim Silly chasing the 75 of Pete Facto. Silly looks to the outside. We've seen it work so far tonight. Will it work for the 68 machine? Silly backs off that time. It is still Pete Facto leading Jim Silly. Jim Silly again looks high but loses some track position by virtue of that. Coming out of fourth, great battle for third as Mark Lambert gets to the outside of Bucko Branham, and the double zero of Steve Miller is tucked right behind the 49 machine. Steve Miller shoots by Bucko on the outside. That moves Miller up to the fourth spot as they will all get the white flag this time by. Steve Miller has cleared himself of traffic and is making a move, but he won't catch these two guys. It is Pete Facto and Jim Silly battling for the win. Keep our eye on him in the final set of turns. Facto gets in with about a 2-car length lead, and he will win it as he crosses the stripe, car length ahead of Silly. Mark Lampier takes third over the double zero of Steve Miller, and Bucko Branham having to settle for fifth on this event. Well, that was an event where if Steve Miller could have just broken free a little sooner, he could have made a move to the front, but it was all Facto and Silly, 1-2. Lampier third, Miller fourth, and Bucko ending up fifth.
Finishing in fifth spot, number 63, Bucko Branham from Plattsburgh. In fourth spot, number 2.
Flying Tiger, heat number 1. Let's set the field on the inside of row 1, the 79 of Ernie Holmes, and on the outside, the 31 of Jim McComb. Row 2, the 05 of Dave Drake, outside the 49 of Kevin Sorrell. Brad Duquette in the 18 and Bill Sawyer in the 39 make up the third row. The Alan Matten 27 car, Jason Leo in 8. The 66 is Mike Richardson.
Low handicap qualifier for the Tigers, about ready to take the green. As they cross stripe, Ernie Holmes and Jim McComb side by side. Kevin Sorrell gets a little loose, gathers it back in. Look at Brad Duquette with the 18 power throw the inside. Duquette must have been watching Steve Miller as he's doing the same move, and Al Madden trying to make the same move work. Al Madden has won his final 2 qualifiers, and as you can see, the 49 of Kevin Sorrell is up in the high groove. Have to wait and see if a caution comes down. Kevin has parked it up between turns 3 and 4. Now refires the automobile, but he's sporting about 3/4 of a lap deficit to the leader, the 79 of Ernie Holmes. Holmes leads at the 18 of Duquette, runs second, the 27 of Madden third. Once again, Al Madden has won the qualifier lap 2 week. Caution on the speedway, and there's the reason why. 31 of Jim McComb was very slow, could not make it back to the pits. He'll bring out the first caution. We have one down, and we'll line them up and try it again. We're ready and raring to go. Once again, one lap of the books. Ernie Holmes and Brad Duquette to set him on the way. The man who benefited from that last caution, Kevin Sorrell, he was able to drive to the back of the pack to restart without having any chance of losing a lap. Out of 4, green flag flying, and Brad Duquette gets the jump of the 79 machine. Brad Duquette, number 18, takes the lead. Now Al Mann with a 27 looks under Ernie Holmes. Nothing doing. Brad Duquette in front. Al Mann gets to the inside of Ernie Holmes. Contact. Ernie Holmes backs off, and Al Mann takes the spot. Keep an eye on this fence as they head into the turn. Jason Leo and Bill Sawyer were really bumper banging. They both drive the same piece of real estate, and they were lucky it worked that time. Trouble up in the turn. Ernie Holmes loses it, just lost the back end. Don't know if fluid's on the track, but certainly appeared that way. And heavy duty contact behind him as Bill Sawyer gets tagged. He gets it straightened around, as does Ernie Holmes. No caution on the speedway. We're still under green. Duquette leads. Al Mann sits second, but he's got his hands full with the 8 of Jason Leo to the inside of him. Halfway that time by, Al Madden pushing down to the track, but Jason Leo has that position taken. Madden last week had 2/3 of a triple crown, but traffic prevented him from winning the triple. Now Jason Leo moves to the front. Jason Leo hasn't competed here often, but when he has, he's made it work. Battle for second, the 18 of Duquette, the 27 of Madden. Now the 66 of Mike Richardson getting in the battle for second. 94 of Brian Lockerbie going a lap down on the backstretch. 2 laps to go this time by. Leo has separated himself by about 10 car lengths from Madden, Richardson, and Duquette. Back up front, it is Jason Leo having it all his own way. Once he got to the front, he simply started to run away from the field. Jason Leo on his final lap as he into 1 now. Leo has already won a feature here this year. It was, I believe, the 3rd or 4th week of the season. Jason Leo a half a backstretch lead as he comes out of 4 to win the first Fly Tiger qualifier of the evening. Jason Leo will win it. Good battle for second. Keep your eye on the stripe. It will be Mike Richardson second, Brad Duquette third, Al Madden 4th, and Kevin Sorrell will round out the top 5. But you may have not noticed that the 66 of Mike Richardson, his right front brake rotor was almost on fire. It was red hot. That could be problems when he has to go a few more laps.
Heat number 2 for the Flying Tigers. Ron Klein in the 28 starts on the pole on the outside. Car number 3, George White. Row number 2, the 12 of David Foster on the outside, the 37 of Eldred Hutchins. Randy Ant's 34 and Chet DeVarney's 14 make up row number 3. The 61 of Robin Wood and the 77 of Eric Williams make up row 4. Row 5, the 29 consecutive week feature winner Mark Lamberton. On the outside, the points leader Ron Weston.
This could be a good one, fans. Top names all over in this field. As you look at the front of the pack, Ron Klein starts on the pole, makes it work to his advantage, but now George White pulls alongside in the number 3. George White powers down the backstretch to take the lead. Ron Klein ducks to the inside, 3 wide going through the turn, fans. Hang on. Cars start to lose traction, but they all gather up. Eldred Hutchins now gets to the outside of Dave Foster, blocking Foster behind the 28 machine. The man on the move may be DeVarney. Chet DeVarney Jr. with a 14 is going to try 3 wide in turn 3. Someone's going to have to back off. It was DeVarney, as you can clearly see here. Still stuck 3 wide as Mark Lamberton gets in between. Mark Lamberton trying to charge through the pack, and he has points leader Ron Weston right behind him. Interesting here, Robin Wood with a 61, Weston with a 35, separated by about 40 points at the point standing. So if Weston can keep Wood close to him, Weston will not lose much ground to the 61 machine. What a pack in the back here. Randy Yance with the 34. On the outside over his right shoulder, the 35 of Ron Weston. Weston now moving up by the 37 of Eldred Hutchins. Already crossing the halfway mark. George White, by the way, has just simply run away so far by about 8 car lengths. Now Dave Foster is still stuck behind the 28, but Ron Klein holding a good groove and has plenty of power. He held down the second spot. Mark Lamberton about ready to challenge him for that position. Lamberton pulls alongside Klein in the battle for second. Will take the number 2 position. Klein back to 3rd. Dave Foster gives Klein a bump. And now Ron Weston trying to do an impersonation of the Lamberton move over Klein. He will indeed move past the 28 machine. 2 laps to go this time by. Now Chet DeVarney Jr. pulls to the high side of Ron Klein. He wants to do the same as Lamberton and Weston. I have to imagine Ron Klein's car is not up to 100%. This is not Ron Klein. His style here is he is getting past rather easily, and that's obviously a mechanical problem, I would say. We are on the final lap. Whoever thought Robin Wood would be dead last? Robin Wood, the man who sits second at the points, doesn't quite seem to have a hold on the field. Meanwhile, up front, as they head into the turns for the last time, George White's lead, and it diminished. Contact, Weston dives to the inside. Lamberton is stuck in the high group, and Rob Weston will win it. George White will finish second in a race that he clearly had in the bag. Mark Lamberton will be third, Chet DeVarney Jr. fourth, and Dave Foster fifth. You know, I said Weston has to keep Wood next to him. Weston wins the qualifier, and Wood finishes in the back of the pack.
For all of those drivers, ladies and gentlemen, that was a great drive. We get the third Napa Legends.
Getting set to go with the first Napa Legends Street Stock qualifier. 9 automobiles take to the speedway for an 8-lap event. Bob Bailey and Mark Eddy set the field on their way. Mark Eddy gets the early lead. Dave Drake pulls to the outside of pole sitter Bob Bailey. Bailey disposes of Drake, and now the two and Mark Brusso getting involved. Ed Drake back and challenging the 55, but can't seem to make a stick on the high side. Brusso dives to the inside. Brusso gives a little tap to the 55 to open up the track. Meanwhile, heavy-duty contact between Ron Clark Jr. and Chris Ida. They both separate themselves and continue on. Ed Drake to the inside of Bob Bailey. Bailey going nowhere in a hurry. Now it's Robert Haynes with the number 72 challenges him. Trouble, Bob Bailey gets loose and gathers it back up, but will lose a position to Haynes. Now Ron Clark Jr. to the inside of the 55. Smoke coming out of the 72 machine. Meanwhile, up front, Mark Eddy with the 71, Mark Brusso with the number 2. Brusso awful wide, but gathers it in. Eddy, Brusso side by side. Drake sits third. Ed Drake now to the inside of Brusso. Brusso once again drifts high, and that will cost him the number 2 spot. Ed Drake moves into second, but gets loose himself, and he has to back off. Halfway this time by. With Ed Drake and Mark Brusso getting loose, your leader, Mark Eddy, can try to get a little distance between himself and those guys. Now Ed Drake disposes of Brusso, but Brusso is not going to give up. He challenges back. They are catching the leader. Mark Eddy's lead is diminishing. You know, Mark Brusso is still awful wide. That could just be the way the car driving. He can't seem to bring the car down at all. Meanwhile, back up front, there is Mark Eddy with the 71 machine. Right behind him, the 69 of Ed Drake. 2 laps to go this time by. About 4 car lengths as they cross the stripe, but Ed Drake closes it to about 2 in the turn. Drake can catch him in the turn, but he can't do anything with them when they're both on the straightaways. Last set of turns for Eddy. Drake is closing him in. Will he have a shot? Does not appear so. Now that was the white flag, fans, so they will have one more shot here. It was still going to be Mark Eddy. Now about 4 car lengths, but as you can see, Drake closing the gap. Just can't quite seem to make it stick. I could swear we're running the same lap twice, fans. As they come out and the checker flag is unfurled, Mark Eddy will officially win it with Ed Drake second. Mark Brusso very slow across the line, but he will finish third. Robert Haynes fourth, and Bob Bailey finishes fifth.
Didn't you go to MAI, Steve?
Yes.
I thought so. Shows in the way you count.
No comment. That's a very nice institution, by the way. Once again, Mark Eddy wins it.
And picking up the checkered flag and going for a heat victory. Lap of honor, number 71.
Second qualifier for the Napa Legends Street Stocks. 9 cars on the speedway. The top row, the 95 of Paul Schnabel. And on the outside, the 82 of Toby Ebersol. Row 2 to the inside, the 63 of Don Moran. On the high side, the 49 of Mike Boucher. Steve Benoit with a 14. He looks to his right and sees the 91 Banana Barge of Greg Paye. Tyson Drown, points leader Dave Rotella, and Danny Benoit round out the 9-car field. Green flag is flying. Schnabel and Ebersol will lead him to the stripe. Tight field hanging into 1. Still side by side in the top row. Schnabel with the inside line makes it work. Look at Mike Boucher with a 49 dive low. Boy, is that car handling. Now Toby Ebersol gets to the outside of the leader, Schnabel, but he can't make it work. And Mike Boucher in the inside of the 82 now. The battle for second is a good one, fans. The 49, Mike has been improving every single week. No surprise to see him move up through the pack. As has the leader, Paul Schnabel. He has improved over the past few weeks. Schnabel leads it, looking a little bit back of the pack. Here is points leader Dave Rotella as he goes 3 wide in the turn. He better hang on. That man in the 6, Tyson Drown, is behind him by only 20 points in the point battle. Both David and Tyson are considered rookies in this division. Back up front, it is going to be the 49 of Mike Boucher. Mike Boucher is your leader. Paul Schnabel was forced to pit the automobile. Now Mike has roughly a 12-car length lead over the 82 of Ebersol and the 91 of Paye, but he doesn't need much of a lead, as Mike has been doing very, very well halfway that time by. Once again, Tyson Brown here with the 6, trying to work his way up through the pack. He comes in contact with Benoit. They straighten each other out. And Dave Rotella dives to the inside. Don Moran taking an excursion with a 63. Dave Rotella with a 53 now, trying to set his sights on the 74 car right here of Benoit. Whoa, Steve Benoit and Greg Paye do the do-si-do. Benoit gets through, but Paye comes down and connects the other Benoit. Damn Benoit. So Greg Paye came in contact with both Benoit. Steve continued, and Dan was the one injured in it. 2 laps to go now, but basically the guys who should be doing better, the guys that are high up in the point standings, can't seem to get through the pack. As we scan back toward the front, this is the 82 machine of Toby Ebersol, and take a look, fans. There's the leader, Mike Boucher, starting his final lap. He basically has to break or have an awful bad mental lap to lose this one, fans. The 49 leads it by what seems to be an eternity, a full backstretch. He eases up coming out of 4, and why not? He has it in the bag, fans. Mike Boucher will win it. Second will go to the 82 of Toby Ebersol. Steve Benoit will be 3rd, Joe Rotella 4th, and Tyson Drown 4th, Dave Rotella 5th, as Joe with a 17 a lapped automobile. Well, Mike Boucher is kind of picking up where he left off. He has been improving every week. He has had a great run in the features, and the guy who, if he could only start a little earlier in the year, the guy who could be leading the point standings is the guy you just saw win the qualifier, the 49 of Mike Boucher.
We get set for the first of 2 10-lap consolation events for the late model sportsman. 3 cars will qualify. Row number 1, the 9 of Danny Bridges, the outside, the 21 of Kevin Keysart. Dennis Alderman in the 34, Fred Lagoy in the 96, Tony Poisson in the 42, Norm Andrews in the 2, the 70 of George Egan, the 13 of Richard Bootsy, and the 64 of Robin Branham make up the field.
Bridges and Keysart on the front row as the green is unfurled. It's up right for Robin Branham. He was starting outside pole, but smoke forced him to the pits, and he had to start the shotgun position. Dennis Alderman with a 34. Looks at the inside of the Fred Lagoy automobiles. There was some contact there, but they all get straightened out, and Tony Poisson dives inside of Fred now. Remember, only 3 qualify. The top 3 go to the main event. Everybody else has to hope for a win in the last chance qualifier. Bootsy storms past Lagoy, as does Storm and Norman Andrews. Now Bootsy sets his sights on the 42 of Tony Quesson. Richard Bootsy very content with the inside groove. Problem is, Dennis Alderman, the man in front of Bootsy, is also holding down that spot. Now Bootsy looks to the outside of the 34 machine. Bootsy is fast, no doubt about it. Richard Bootsy is definitely a quick automobile. But another one is Norm Andrews as he gets to the inside, and that's going to force Bootsy on the high. Bootsy way, way, way high. Trouble on the 13 machine. A severe detour for Richard as he finally spins it around. Remember, only 3 qualify, so Richard almost has to try to hope for a caution here. He refires the automobile, but as you can see, Bridges going by under him. He is a lap down now, and, well, he's going to be in the last chance qualifier. The pace car is coming out, but the race has not been cautioned. There's no yellow flag, the halfway mark given. So the pace car having to turn off its lights and stay to the pits. That could be confusing to a leader, which is this man, the number 9 of Danny Bridges. Bridges started on the pole and basically has not had much to contend with since then. A former Milk Bowl winner, and of course the Milk Bowl coming up this Sunday. Catch these late miles, 100 laps with a regular show for the Tigers of Stocks, and then the very next day, this Sunday, September 6th, the Vermont Milk Bowl at Thunder Road. Speaking of Thunder Road, Danny Bridges, the only New Yorker to regularly go over to T-Road, so a lot of racing on that track, and I'm sure he'll be there Milk Bowl Day. Two to go, 1 mile left for Danny Bridges. He looks like he's home free. His nearest competitor is a 21 machine of Kevin Kezar, and there's probably 15 car lengths between those two. Well, what can you say about Danny Bridges, except he has about as much experience as anyone who competes here regularly. Danny spent a long time in the seat of an automobile, and especially in this area, he has competed in many races with many victories. Looks like he's about ready to pick up another one here tonight. Last time through the turns in the very first of 2 consies. As he comes out of 4, checker flag honors fly for the number 9 of Dan Bridges. Kevin Kezar will finish second with a 21, and Norm Andrews will be the third at qualifier from the first consie. Tough break for this man. Dennis Alderman with a 34, 1 out of qualifying. Once again, Danny Bridges wins it, and like I said a couple of minutes ago, he's accustomed to winning. Can he win the main event tonight? Well, it's certainly a possibility. He looks strong in that consie. Bridges wins it, Kezar second, and Norm Andrews also going on to the main event a little bit later this evening.
Second consie for the late models, David Gay in the 50, Lester Armel in the 71, Brent Dragon in the 0. The 80 is Mike Knapp, the 40, Dwayne Lanfear, Doug Hoare in the 46, Steve Minton in the 08, Jacques Courchaine in the 99, Ricky LeQuire starts in the 10.
Out of 4, David Gay and Lester Armel side by side. David Gay gets the jump at the start. Brent Dragon with the 0 machine. With that starting position, look for Brent Dragon to dispose of this field, perhaps. Remember, David Gay having to drive his brother Norm's automobile tonight, not his usual number 19. The number 0, Brent Dragon, now has moved into second, has his sights set on the David Gay number 50. Once again, only the top 3 continue. Right now, Doug Hoare gets to the inside of Armel. Armel forced wide, and Doug Hoare has to move through the back. Doug Hoare still has a car to pass to make it into the main event. It is David Gay, Brent Dragon, and Mike Knapp running 1, 2, 3. Doug Hoare, the man who has to get at least 1 position if he wants to qualify. David Gay doing very, very well with the number 50 machine as he is still holding off the 0 Brent Dragon. Dragon not able to close the gap in the least. It is still about a car length as they come to the stripe. Meanwhile, Mike Knapp had dropped back a little bit in his battle as he runs third. Now Brett Dragon on the back bumper of the number 50, but David Gay not about to give any room whatsoever. As they come out of 4, it looked like David might drift high, but he turned down in a hurry. Half down, half to go. Brett looked to the outside and decided that wasn't the place to be then. David Gay holding off the charge of Brent Dragon with the number 0. Six laps in the books, 4 remaining, and Brent Dragon again taking a peek to the inside, but nothing doing. How many? David Gay loses traction, but he still keeps the lead. Brent Dragon was forced to the left, not knowing if David would come down into his path. So even though he lost traction, he still stayed on the top spot. How many times have we seen Beaver Dragon make a pass at the late stages to win a race? Can his son do the same thing? 2 to go, 2 laps remaining. David Gay and Brent Dragon battling out for the top spot. In the battle for third, the 80 of Mike Knapp has the 40 of points leader Dwayne Lampier all over his back bumper. Keep an eye on this battle as we enter the final lap. Remember, only one of these 2 guys can qualify. 3 set to go to the main event, and this is the battle for third. As the cars come out of 4, David Gay drifts high again, but he'll hold off the 0. David Gay wins it, Brent Dragon third, Mike Knapp 4th, and fans, points leader Dwayne Lampier is going to have to go to a last chance qualifier. Remember, you have to win that race to make it into the main event. You finish second, you might as well load it up. Well, what a run for David Gay. He's not able to drive his customary number 19, and last week he destroyed his number 19, so he drives his brother's number 50. Only the second week for the 50 at the track, but it pulls in a victory lane courtesy of Dave Gay. Flying Tiger semi-feature set to go. On the pole, the 49 of Kevin Sorrell. On the outside, the 39 of Bill Sawyer. Row 2 to the inside, the 27 of Alan Madden. And on the high side, the 8 of Jason Leo. In row 3 to the inside, the 66 of Mike Richardson. On the high groove, the 28 of Rockin' Ron Klein. George White and Dave Foster make up row 4. Chuck DeVarney Jr., Mark Labradon, and Ron Weston will round out this field. And they are off at under green flag conditions, and Bill Sawyer gets the early lead on the Sorrell number 49. Heavy duty contact, Sorrell taking around. Madden and Sorrell come together, and Kevin faces the wrong way. Meanwhile, as we continue watching some action near the middle of the pack, it is Mark Labradon going past the Al Madden machine. Mark Labradon moved up real quick. Mark Labradon, I don't think he is even contemplating the inside groove, as he loves to ride high, and he makes it work. Caution on the speedway as they come by. Everybody will be greeted with the yellow flag. That's because Kevin Sorrell has not moved the 49 machine. So we'll go back with 1 lap down, and we'll line them up. Kevin Sorrell, the reason for the caution. 1 down, 9 to go. Bill Sawyer and Jason Leo make up the top row with Dave Foster and Ron Klein right behind him in row 2. Engines rev up as they come out of 4. They look at the chief starter. He lets him go under green. Jason Leo trying to get the jump on the Sawyer number 39. Meanwhile, back of the pack, Mark Labradon and Ron Weston doing battle side by side. 3 wide action with Dave Foster, the bold move. Couple of cars have contact, but Jason Leo comes out of it from the high side to take the lead. Dave Foster gets in for second with Bill Sawyer third, but for how long is Mark Labradon tucks under him? Mark Labradon really wants to get to the front in a hurry, and who can blame him? Labradon has won the past 2 main events here, and he's looking to go for 3 in a row. Mark 71 points behind Ron Weston with this and 2 other weeks of racing left, so Laverton really needs to get some wins under his belt. Already has 2, of course, this season. Meanwhile, up front, Dave Foster and Jason Leo come in contact, with Foster moving to the inside. And he definitely has position on young Jason Leo, and Leo will be forced to give up the spot, or will he? Well, he does indeed, and not only does he lose the lead, but he's going to lose second to Mark Laverton as Mark Laverton gets to the inside. Now Ron Weston wants to do the same. Meanwhile, up front, Laverton sets his sights on leader Dave Foster. Halfway that time by, and Dave Foster, if he's going to win this, he's going to have to earn it because he has Laverton and Weston to contend with. Foster, also a previous winner this year in the main event. Mark Laverton all over the back bumper of Dave Foster, but they both want to run the same groove, and obviously that is not physically possible. Now Laverton looks to the inside. Dave Foster teases him a little bit, and Mark Laverton takes advantage as he ducks his wheel inside. Foster not able to shut the door, and Laverton storms his way through. Mark Laverton makes the move work to take the lead, but Dave Foster not ready to give up the top spot. And Rob Weston tucking right in behind Laverton. 3-car battle for the top spot. Now Weston dives to the inside of Foster. There'll be 2 laps to go this time by, with Laverton leading Weston and Foster. Well, Mark Laverton has 2 laps. He's got to hold off the 35 of Weston. Dave Foster trying to catch back up to the 35 machine, but catching Ron Weston and passing him are 2 entirely different things. Ask any of the Flying Tiger drivers. About 2 car lengths that time by. That the lead for Mark Laverton. It does not appear that Ron Weston has enough to catch Mark Laverton in this semi-feature. In their qualifier, Weston pulled off a shocker to win it, but in the semi, Laverton makes amends. It'll be Mark Laverton winning it, with Ron Weston second, Dave Foster third, Jason Leo fourth, and Bill Sawyer fifth. Basically, this is what we've expected all season, a battle between the 2 cars of Laverton and Weston. In their qualifier, Ron Weston ducked 3 wide to the inside to pull off a shocker to beat George White and Mark Laverton. But in this semi-feature, Mark Laverton got in front of the 35 machine and took it in for the win. 9 late model sportsmen take to the speedway, and this is an important one, fans. It's called the last chance qualifier. You win it, you make it to the main event. You finish second, you might as well load it up, you won't be in the main event. Yellow flag where it says not a start, which gives us a chance to look at the field real quick. Scheduled to start on the pole and has a big lead right now. The rest of the field better line up behind him. Scheduled to start on the pole, the 34 of Dennis Alderman. Scheduled to start outside row 1. Fans, believe it or not, this is a last chance qualifier, and he's forced to qualify through it. Your points leader, the 40 of Dwayne Lamphere. Row 2 to the inside, the 96 of Fred LeGoin on his right, the 71 of Lester Armel Jr. Row 3, the 42 of Tony Poisson, and the 46 of Doug Hoare. That, of course, Brian Hoare's car from last year. Row 4, the 13 of Bootsy and the 08 of Minton. Shotgun belongs to the 64 of Robin Branham. Remember, only the winner makes it to the main event. If you finish second, you have to hope a pre-qualified car falls out because you'll be an alternate and not starting. Green flag out, and Dwayne Lamphere got a whale of a jump, fans. Dwayne Lamphere, like he was shot out of a cannon, gets a huge lead at the stripe. In the battle for second, Armel with a 71, Alderman with a 34. Armel takes the spot. Then behind them, well, gets to be a little messy as the cars go 2 and 3 wide coming out of 4. Doug Hoare with his son's car from last year powering into 4th, but he's got to do better than that if he wants to make it to the feature.
Number 40, Lamphere, runs away with the lead.
Everybody knows that finishing second in the runner-up spot doesn't mean a thing. You have to win to continue. Taking a look at Dwayne Lamphere, who has about a 12-car length lead over Lester Armel Jr. Up in 3, a massive cars battling for the 3rd position. Bootsy and Alderman here. Now Tony Puesa ducks to the inside of the Dennis Alderman black 34. And a battle for 4th, but Alderman and Puesa both get a little bit loose. Drop ball, Alderman gets in contact with Fred Lagoy. The car spins to the infield, still hooked together, now separating themselves. Alderman continues. Fred Lagoy is going to have to turn the automobile around as he's facing right at the barrier. Naturally, no caution on the speedway. They were clearly off the racing area. Back up front is Dwayne Lamphere. He certainly does not want a caution because that would take away that big lead that he has acquired. Pass flag out for Dennis Alderman as leader. Dwayne Lamphere is quickly closing on him. Dennis Alderman has nothing to do but to lap, or I should say Dwayne Lamphere has nothing to do but to lap Dennis Alderman. He has had no challenge for the top spot from Lester Armel yet. Dwayne Lamphere takes it very wide around the lapped automobile as he does not want any problems whatsoever to keep him out of transferring. Halfway that time by. 8 down and 8 to go. This is a 16 lap last chance qualifier. As Dwayne Lamphere has the race to himself, the battle for second here starting to heat up. Lester Armel Jr. is being caught by the 13 of Bootsy, but as I said, in the battle for second means absolutely nothing unless a pre-qualified automobile is unable to make it to the line. 5 to go this time by. I'll tell you, one person hoping that Dwayne Lamphere doesn't finish is Steve Miller. Miller behind Lamphere by a few points in the point standings. Miller has pre-qualified. If Lamphere didn't, well, the point structure could definitely change. Then it's Alderman being a bit of a problem here. He's a lapped automobile, and Armel and Bootsy having to negotiate rather difficultly. Now both cars do dispose of the 34 machine. The best battle on the speedway, the one you watch it for second, is Bootsy gets to the back bumper of the 71 machine, gives him a tap, and then backs off. Once again, Richard Bootsy trying to get past the 71 machine. But as they go into turn 3, your leader, Dwayne Lamphere, is coming up to the stripe to get the 2 lap to go sign. This is Dwayne Lamphere. He, I think, is running in a total different zip code, fans. There's nothing even close to him on the track, be it behind him or in front of him, as he starts his final half mile. Well, he got knocked out of the qualifier in an incident, could not make it work in the consi, but it apparently will indeed transfer by virtue of the last chance qualifier. He does indeed cross the stripe. Dwayne Lamphere, your last car to qualify for the 25-lap main event. Lester Armel finishes second, with Tony Puesa third. If you wonder about Richard Bootsy, yeah, that's him up in 3 and 4. In the battle for second, Armel and Bootsy came together, and Bootsy unable to complete the 15-lap qualifier. Once again, Dwayne Lamphere picks up the win, and Dwayne is not the most popular driver, but you got to respect his abilities. He disposed of the field rather easily, did get a rather large jump at the start, but still had quite an easy trip of it as he picks up the 25th and final transfer position.
Towards the back of the pack, we have number
21 Flying Tiger take the speedway for their 20-lap main event. Starting out of the pole, the 79 of Ernie Holmes, and over his right shoulder, the 31 of Jim McComb. Row 2 to the inside, the 05 of Dave Drake. He's joined on the high groove by the 18 of Brad Duquette. On the inside of row 3, the green machine, the 39 of Bill Sawyer. And on the outside, the 27 of Al Madden. Jason Leo, Mike Richardson make up row 4. Rock and Ron Klein, George White complete the top 10. But I'll tell you, a couple of cars to keep your eyes on, maybe the Ron West at 35 and the Mark Lambert at 29, starting way back in the pack. Talked to Mark of the Pits, wanted me to thank Ernie and JJ Discount. Of course, J&J, a big sponsor of racing here at Airborne. They recently started sponsoring the Mark Lambert machine. Of course, we like to thank Ernie anyway because he does indeed put a lot of money into sponsoring here at Airborne in all divisions and several cars, as well as sponsoring a night, of course. They come out at 4. Ernie Holmes, Jim McComb side by side to the green. Brad Duquette literally pushing McComb to try to get in front. If drafting was conceivable, Brad Duquette would have been doing a masterful job of it there. Ernie Holmes gets the early lead over the 31 of McComb. Move it back a little bit. Oh my, 3 wide, and hold on, fans, as Mike Richardson lets it all hang out, and the 66 goes to the back of the pack in a hurry. Taking a peek near the back of the pack again. A lot of heavy hitters, including Weston Lambert and Robin Wood and Eric Williams, but those are guys who usually make their way to the front in a hurry. 3, even 4 wide, and these Tigers make it work week in and week out. Some excellent driving and showing of respect by these guys. Dave Drake gets loose with the 05. George White forced to back off, as is Rob Weston. That gets everything all messed up. Lamberton is confused by it. He's forced to take a detour, and he loses some track position. Meanwhile, they come out of 4, the 35 of Rob Weston, keeping that 61 of Robin Wood right next to him. Told you their qualifier, that's what he has to do. Now Bill Sawyer going nowhere in a hurry as he gets past to the outside. And at the front of the pack, we have a new leader. Jim McComb takes over the top spot. Oh my, 3 wide action in the battle for second, including the 12 of Dave Foster. Dave Foster started in the middle of the pack, but he has worked his way to the front in a hurry. But everybody's got to slow down, caution on the speedway, and that's the reason. The black 94 Brian Lockerbie was not moving at all. Yellow came out, and lo and behold, the car fired. With 3 laps already in the record books and 17 remaining, we are set to continue the Flying Tiger main event. Ernie Holmes, Jim McComb in the front row, Brad Duquette, Bill Sawyer in row 2, Rock and Ron and Dave Foster make up the 3rd row. Ernie Holmes leading on Jim McComb a little bit at the start of that race, trying to force him wide. Did not work in the least, though McComb himself drifting wide out at 2, and Holmes will stay in the lead. We have got all kinds of action behind there as cars bumping to try to take positions. Once again, the familiar 3 wide out of 4. 8 of Jason Leo. Keep your eye on that young guy. Told you earlier, he doesn't run here much, but when he does, he's usually a tough competitor. 3 wide action in it. Dave Foster, the sandwich of the action, with Brad Duquette to his left and Bill Sawyer to his right. Sawyer hard at the wall. Contact behind. Eric Williams looping it. Remarkably, the only car affected, the 77 of Eric Williams, and he quickly refires. That could have been a severe pileup. Back up front, Dave Foster takes the top spot with Jim McComb following him through, moving Holmes back to 3rd. Keep your eye on the 37 of Eldred Hutchins. Hutchins does a sandwich move, bumping and grinding. Ron Klein gets involved, he straightens it out. And right behind them, guys like Lambert and Weston. Oh, Ron Weston, he's pushing his way through. Ron Weston literally just pushing his way through the pack. Ron Weston has won 6 main events this year, and he is trying very, very hard to make a 7 tonight. Robin Wood gets boxed in by Ron Klein. Klein boxed in by Brad Duquette, who himself is boxed in by Jim McComb. Jim McComb is running second, but now the field has caught him. Let's see if Jim can hold off Eldred Hutchins, Brad Duquette, and Ron Weston. Again, Ron Weston sliding through the middle. One of these times that won't work, and the 35 driver will pay dearly for it. Well, so far so good. Weston takes second, gets in contact with McComb, but straightens the wheels out. This is about as rough as these guys have run the past few weeks. They are really leaning on each other, but you can get to expect that as the season winds down. Remember, only one more regular Saturday night show here at Airborne. That this weekend with 100 laps on tap for the late model Sportsman. And the very next day, the Milk Bowl in Vermont at Thunder Road. Taking a peek in the middle of the pack here is a lot of cars trying to get some position, but just no racing room. Leo gets to the inside of Klein here, but Leo will have no place to go with Randy Yass boxes him in, and Ron Klein takes the position back. And Ron Weston is sent spinning by Mark Lamberton. They come in contact, and very, very, very quickly a yellow on the speedway. That yellow came out about as quickly as you can expect as Weston refires, but Rob Weston is stopping at the start-finish line, wants to have a discussion. It certainly looked like Weston and Lamberton came together. What do you think, Rick?
Well, Steve, they definitely came together, but what surprised me was how quick the caution flag came out. Lamberton fired the car, but before he even had a chance to stop, the caution flag was out. And earlier in the night, we've seen cars sit in the corner for at least a lap. Caution flag out quick for Weston. I don't know, tough call.
Well, I was about ready to say that. I'm not trying to be critical, but Ron Weston spun in between turns 4 and the start-finish line. Before the rest of the field crossed the start-finish line, and before he could refire the car, the yellow flag was already out. Now, this could simply be called a racing incident. This happens many times, two cars come in contact, and I am not going to blame Mark Lambert for this move when Ron Weston himself has come in contact and cars have spun out because of it. I like Ron Weston, I like Mark Lamberton, but let's not call this some sort of a rough riding incident if you're not going to do it every time it happens. Now you're looking at Lamberton and Weston, and they're letting Weston go in front of Lamberton, and fans, let me explain what this means. Weston starts at the back of the pack for bringing out the caution. Mark Lamberton has been sent to the back of the pack for rough riding. Ten down, 10 to go, halfway, and it is Dave Foster and Robin Wood in the front row. Fans with Weston in back, boy, could Robin Wood use a victory here. But I got news for you. Dave Foster is a fast automobile tonight. It'll be tough to be that number 12 car. But Robin Wood is certainly giving it 100%. He sticks right to the outside groove. Meanwhile, as you look at the car scan coming out of 4, there the Ron Weston machine as Weston tries to work his way back up. Mark Lamberton behind him by virtue of being called in a rough riding incident. Dave Drake disposed of here in the 05. Oh my. Hey, Judd DeVarney Jr. has moved into 4th. On that restart, he was about 12th, so boy, did Judd DeVarney Jr. move up in a hurry. Meanwhile, back up front, it is still Dave Foster. Half a car length over Robin Wood. Going in tonight, Wood 40 points behind Rob Weston for the championship. Robin Wood has not really been a big winner so far this year, but he has been a model of consistency. And if he wins this track championship in the Tiger Division, it would parallel what Frank Keaton did with the Dirt Modifieds several years ago. Frank didn't win a lot, but he always finished high. Dave Foster, car length over the 61 of Robin Wood. Those two guys have separated themselves in the battle for third by about maybe 16 car lengths. Good action here as Randy Yass tucks to the inside of the 14 machine. Now looking back at trouble up in 4. It is Bill Sawyer getting spun around. And this time, absolutely no caution. And Sawyer is even closer to the track than Weston was. No caution, and 5 to go, fans. Well, Bill Sawyer having to fire the car and take off on his own, being put a lap down. Meanwhile, this the number 8 of Jason Leo. Leo trying to move through the pack, but just can't seem to find the groove anymore. This, the leader, the 12 of David Foster. Right behind him, the 61 of Robin Wood. Brian Lockerbie now lapped with a black number 94, and Robin Wood all over the back end of Foster. Rob Weston has not moved up a whole lot, so boy does Robin Wood stand and make up a bunch of points. Of course, the win is always better. 2 to go, 1 mile left for Foster, or for Wood, depending on how it all works out. Robin Wood has tried a couple of different lines. None of them have worked so far, and Dave Foster has really held on a tight groove and really making that 12 car work. And as we go to the white flag lap and you follow the leader, Dave Foster, take a look right there, fans. It is Mark Lamberton. Mark Lamberton has spun. I did not see what happened, but I can tell you Rob Weston was not near him on the track. As they come out of 4, chalk up another victory for David Foster. Foster wins with a 12. Beautiful finish for Robin Wood with a 61. Chet DeVardi Jr. gets 3rd with a 14. Jason Leo will finish 4th. And Randy Yaz rounds out the top 5. But I think what fans are going to talk about here is not how well Robin Wood finished, but some of the calls that were made in the running of that race. And I'm sure you might have a comment about that one, Rick.
The only comment I have is if you're going to throw a caution flag for Ron Weston as soon as he spins out, why don't you throw a caution flag for the 39 of Bill Sawyer, who spins out in the same spot and sits there for a lap and a half?
Well, not only that, but when Ron Weston spun, he was maybe a car length off of the track. Bill Sawyer had his wheels practically on the track in the racing group. I don't know, fans. You saw it. You make the call. Once again, Dave Foster, your winner. 25 late model sportsmen on the track for their 25-lap main event. And starting on the pole from Plattsburgh, New York, the 91 of Wild Bill Felton. Outside row 1, the 17 of Lonnie Lackalade. In row 2 to the inside, the white 52 of Barry Schwartz. And on the high side, the 57 of Jim Barton. Row 3 to the inside, Pete Fecto. On the high side, Chris Durkee. Monty Lemaire takes the 49 from the 7th starting position with Dennis Damaris to his right side. Bucko Branham and Lance Furno round out the top 10 as 25 cars are set and ready to do battle. Lackalay gets the jump on Felton, while Monty Lackalay is in no man's land, 3 or 4 groups high, but brings it down. Felton back in front, Lackalay 2nd, Barry Schwartz running 3rd. Jim Barton sits at the high sides. He sits 4th, trying to work down into the inside groove. Meanwhile, looking back a little bit, Reddy number 1 machine, he's going to, oh, trouble. Lonnie Lackalay gets sideways, back across the track. Monty Lemaire involved, the 86 of Dennis Demers. Other car taking evasive action, Kezar and Thomas as they go to the outside to avoid contact. Heavy duty, Lackalay got loose, collected by Lemaire, and then Dennis Demers came up on the situation. Absolutely no laps officially recorded. We'll start them all over again with 25 laps set to go. Billy Felton and Barry Schwartz will be the 2 men to set them on their way. Felton eases in front of Schwartz. Jim Barton's 57 trying to follow Felton through. Only casually from that first caution apparently was a 17 of Lonnie Lackalay. He did not make it back out for the restart. Looked like Bechtel got a bit loose, but gathered it back in. That would have been a tough place to lose it with almost the entire field right behind him. Side by side, the 1 of Meade, the 31 of Furno, battling for position 6. Meanwhile, back up front. Car starts down a single file. Good shot of Steve Miller as he tries to find a way by. Right now following the 25 machine of Dave Wickham. Steve Miller had a poor first half, but a fantastic second half so far. Remember, this Saturday night regular Saturday night action concludes here at Airborne with a regular show for the Stocks and Tigers and 100 laps for these late model sportsmen. Because of that, post time is pushed back up to 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock starting time this Saturday. If you plan to be here at 7:30, you're going to miss some qualifying. Good shot of the 50 of David Gay. David once again driving his brother Norman's car, and David won the second Consi with that car. Right now, he's going to have some tough times in front of him with Steve Redditt pulls to his left side. That forces David on the high groove. Miller also works his way by Gage, so now David Gage is going to have to fight to get back to the inside. Side-by-side action here with Pete Facto in the 75 and Lance Furno in the 31. And again, Lance Furno loves the outside groove tonight. Really letting it all hang out on the outside. Back up front, it is Bill Fountain leading Jim Barton, but not by a whole lot. Bill Fountain has come close. Trouble! Hang on, fans. We have got Bucko Branham and Pete Facto involved. They got tagged. A couple other cars going off the track. The 45 of Brian Hoare was involved. He may have been the one to tangle up there, but everybody refires and takes off. Steve Redditt was involved as he got pitched up on the wall.
And they'll have to
When you get a drink.
7 laps down, 18 remaining. 7 in the record books, 18 to go for Bill Fountain, Jim Barton in the front row. Barry Schwartz, Lance Furno make up row 2. John Paul Sear and Red Mead sit in row 3. Billy Fountain and Jimmy Barton were leaning at each other a little bit there as they come to the stripe, but now Fountain gets back in front. Barton sits on the high side. Barry Schwartz and Lance Furno side by side in the battle for third. And now Jean Paul Sears sticking his nose in that battle. Now Lance Furno disposes of Schwartz on the outside groove. Furno clearly into third. Jean Paul Sears dives to the inside of the 52. Schwartz gets past on the inside and the outside. Once again, Steve Miller trying to work his way through the pack. Miller right now sits 8th. He is trouble up front. Billy Fountain gets turned around 360s, rear-ended by Joe Thomas. Thomas severely shortening the automobile. Brian Hoare involved in another incident, as is Dennis DeMere, Chris Durkee, and Kevin Kezar. Bill Fountain got spun around 360, got back on the gas, and Joe Thomas shortened his front end. Laps down, 16 remaining, and there's still some speedy drive left up out of turn 2, so let's keep an eye on that as Jimmy Barton and John Paul Sears set the field on their way. And John Paul Sears gets a jump in the stripe, but Jim Barton with the inside line will make it work. Barton gets back in front. Jim Silly trying to follow it through. Sear unable to pull down for a block. The car on the move, maybe the 00 Miller. Miller in the battle for 4th. You saw him just go on the picture. Now John Paul gets the lead from the outside, but Barton takes it back. The J&A Enterprise 57 of Jim Barton leads him going into 3 with a John Paul Sear 32 tucked right on his right side. Right behind him is the 68 of Brad Vermont's Jim Silly. Silly gotta get boxed in, wait for one of these guys to make a move. Barton and Sear come in contact. Barton forced to left, and that puts Silly right in the bumper. Now Miller goes to the outside of the battle for 3rd. Steve Miller trying to dispose of Jim Silly 68 for the 3rd spot. Remember, Steve Miller's about 40 points behind the 40 of Dwayne Lampier in the point standings as the races run down. This time the field comes out of 4, and John Paul Sears greeted with a half down sign. Half down, half to go. Jim Barton, Jim Silly. Well, now you look at the outside, Steve Miller getting involved. Meanwhile, John Paul Sears run away from him. John Paul Sears with half a straightaway lead on these guys. Jim Barton is smoking. Barton loses it, but Jim Barton may have lost something in the engine. There was smoke prior to that. No smoke now, but there was definitely some smoke on the 57. With 14 in the record books, 11 remaining. Let's take a peek at the top 10. Jean-Paul Cyr sets the pace with Jim Silly running second. Then Steve Miller and Dave Wickham make up the second row. Brent Dragon is fifth, followed by Dan Bridges, Dwayne Lamphere, Red Mead, Mike Knapp, and Steve Reddit, last week's feature winner, round out the top 10 as we are once again off and racing. Jim Silly trying to get the jump on Jean-Paul Cyr. They're going to hit the speedy dry, and Silly just shows you what happens when you hit that stuff. You lose some traction. Silly tucks behind the leader. Now Jean-Paul Cyr wants to get a little bit of some breathing room, and I can't blame him. He's got some heavy hitters charging up behind him. Meanwhile, Brent Dragon and Dave Wickham go side by side, as do Dwayne Lamphere and the 9 machine of Danny Bridges. White 25 of Dave Wickham. Trouble on Dwayne Lamphere. Lamphere goes to the outside groove. Trouble contact. Lamphere comes down, hits Mike Knapp, who in turn hits Dennis Demers. And Dennis Demers, the man who suffers for something he had absolutely nothing to do with. No caution on the speedway, and there is the leader going past them. Jean-Paul Cyr, and again he puts a big margin between himself and the rest of the field. But now, Steve Miller sits second. Let's see if that lead diminishes. It is Jean-Paul Cyr followed by Steve Miller. Miller trying to cut into the lead. There's Jean-Paul. He is probably 10 car lengths in front of Miller, but Miller has a habit of reeling in guys in front of him. It would be a mild upset for the 32 to pull into victory lane, and he now has 5 laps to go. Can he hang on for 5 more laps, or will Steve Miller once again find his way in for a win? As it stands now, barring a caution, it appears to be Jean-Paul or Steve Miller's race. The real D-World 32 of Jean-Paul Cyr's lead is diminishing. It is down to 6 car lengths. Miller is catching him, but there are only 4 laps remaining. There is Miller. He is definitely closing in on the 32, but laps are coming and counting down. It is down to 4 car lengths. Miller is definitely going to catch him at this rate, but can he pass him? Ronnie Lackley being put another lap down, and there is nothing as far as lap traffic in front of the leaders as to get the 2 lap to go sign. Still about 4 car lengths for Jean-Paul Cyr in front of the Steve Miller 00 machine. If Miller has anything at all left, he had better unleash it on this lap. 1 lap, 1/2 mile for Jean-Paul Cyr. Miller maybe 3 car lengths, but Jean-Paul stretches it out on the backstretch. The Miller fans are going wild, but they're gonna finish second tonight. Jean-Paul Cyr pulls off the win. Steve Miller will finish second. Brent Dragon up for third. Dave Wickham in a photo finish finishes fourth over the 9 of Danny Bridges. Well, if you were to look at the field originally, you probably would not have picked the 32 machine to pull off the win. Jean-Paul Cyr got his lead a couple of times and pulled out to some distance between himself and the rest of the pack, but Steve Miller started catching him. If this race was 30 laps in distance, I think Miller may have had a shot, but it was only 25, and that's all Jean-Paul needed, as Jean-Paul Cyr pulls off the mild upset and gets the victory here tonight. 20 Napa Legend Street Stock set to do battle for 15 laps. Starting out the pole, the white 55 of Bob Bailey, and outside row 1, the 71 of Mark Eddy. Row 2 to the inside, the 69 of Ed Drake. On the outside, the 2 of Mark Brusso. Row 3, the number 72 of Robert Haynes. And on the high groove, the 23 of Chris Ida. Row 4 to the inside, the 95 of Paul Schnabel and the 82 of Toby Ebersol. Mike Boucher, Don Moran round out the top 10. The Banana Bars, Greg Paye, Steve Benoit, Dave Rotella, Tyson Drown, Dan Benoit, Rob Clark Jr., Doug Shepard, Sparky LePan, Joe Rotella, Charles McNulty round out the 20-car field. Mark Eddy gets the jump on Bob Bailey as they go 3 wide into the first turn. 4 wide thanks to Steve Benoit. They start to straighten them out a bit. Still 3 wide in some spots. 49 of Mike Boucher, the man who is boxed in right now. And he probably has one of the quickest cars, but he just doesn't have any room. Toby Ebersol with the Black 82 trying to get back on track. Ebersol was one of the quickest cars here, but the last couple of weeks he slipped a little bit. Again, Steve Benoit with a 14 way high. Now sandwich maneuver time. Trouble in front of him though. Cars go scattering. We've got 2 or 3 cars that have just simply spun all over the place. Tyson Brown was involved. Also involved Robert Hayes and Charles McNulty. No caution, not uncommon in this division. Unless it's real serious, they usually like to keep these guys under green. Scanning back up through the pack. Picking up some action near the back of the pack right here. 3 wide action out of 4. The 91, the Banana Bars as we call him, Greg Paye. He's going to get a position on Robert Haynes at number 72 as Haynes goes way wide. And keep your eye on the 01 Rob Clark Jr. slip shot, Don Moran and Robert Haynes. You got a spin up there in 3 now, and looks like the 95 machine of Paul Schnabel, 360 continued running. Hasn't quite made it out of the speedway, but there we go, Paul. Picking up the leaders, he crosses the stripe, and it's the 71 of Mark Eddy. Mark Eddy leads it. The battle for second between the 2 of Mark Brusso and these guys, 82 Toby Ebersol and 49 Mike Boucher. Boy, Boucher's 49 has really been a car that has come around the last month or so. Good look at the 49 machine. He's found his way victory lane, hoping to duplicate that feat here again tonight. Right in front of him, Mark Brusso spins, and you've got your eye right now on the leader, Mark Eddy. Mark Eddy's lead, I think, is going to shrink in quite a hurry because the guy chasing him is that 49 machine right now. Matter of fact, it not only shrunk, it just basically disappeared. Mike Boucher is all over the 71 now. Well, but Eddy pulls away coming out of 2, but Boucher gets into it and pulls right up next to him. Eddy still with the car lead coming out of 4, lap traffic in front of him. And as they go into 1, Boucher pulls even. And now indeed pulls in front of the 71 to take the lead. Boucher gets the top spot, Eddy back to second. And once his 49 gets in front, watch out fans, because he usually puts a lot of distance between himself and anyone running second. Right now, Boucher attempted to put the 75 of Sparky LePan a lap down. LePan moved down, Boucher stayed nice and wide. Good courteous driving up there. Pass flag comes out, but really no need for it. Sparky LePan very nicely moved over for the leader there. Well, this man, Boucher, has got about a 10-car length lead, but it's going to disappear as a caution comes out, and there's the reason. Robert Haynes gets turned around in 4. Good need for a caution here, so the 49's lead just disappeared. 10 laps down and 5 to go. Your leader, the 49, the yellow machine of Mike Boucher. The man outside the 75 Sparky LePan is a lap down. Your second place automobile starts inside row 2. It is the 71 of Mark Eddy and the 14 of Dan Benoit alongside is your third place car with 10 down and 5 to go. Sparky LePan with a black 75 could be trouble here. He's a lapped automobile. Looks like he's going to give way as he drifts way high. And the green is out. Let's see what happens here. Well, he's going to race to get his lap back. Oh, but look at Steve Benoit with a 14. He ducks inside of LePan and tried to catch Boucher by surprise, but it did not work. But he did take second from the 71 machine. Looking at action for about battles. Whoa, trouble! Rob Clark Jr. climbing a wheel. Brings it back down, but I'm sure Sparky LePan did not appreciate that view. Look at this, 3 wide going into 1, but they all keep them heading straight as they come out of 2. Tyson Drown making a move, but Tyson, you may have waited too long, buddy, as the laps are dwindling down in a hurry. It is still Mike Boucher leading the 14 machine of Steve Benoit. Benoit with a good run here, running second, but there's a distance between himself and leader Mike Boucher. 2 laps to go this time by, 2 to go. Well, Steve Benoit's going to make a race of this. Mike gets into 1, and Benoit is about 2 car lengths behind him. Steve Benoit not quite able to really make up a whole lot of ground on the 49 machine. And we start the final lap of the evening with Mike Boucher sporting a 6-car length lead over the 14 of Benoit. My oh my, if Mike could have done this earlier in the season, what a difference there could be in the point standings. As the leaders come out of 4, it will be the yellow 49 and Mike Boucher winning another one. Steve Benoit right behind him for second. Mark Eddy third, Joe Rotella fourth, and Toby Ebersol finishes 5th. I'll tell you what, fans, the story in that race may be the 17 machine. The Vance Gun sponsor 17 of Joe Rotella. He started dead last and finished 4th. So a good run for Joe Rotella, but it was Mike Boucher who got the dirty deed done to pick up another victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, we enjoy bringing it to you. We look forward.
That's going to wrap up Motorsports Magazine for tonight. We thank everyone for joining us. And Steve, a new format in the late model Sportsman, and it really provided some excellent racing here tonight.
Oh, I liked it a lot because it forced some of these guys to have to try a little bit harder to make the main event if they didn't qualify through their first qualifier. But whoever thought Richard Bootsy wouldn't be in the main event?
And Doug Hoare.
Good example, yeah. A couple of guys who normally you would expect to get good finishes, they didn't even qualify tonight.
Good run for Mike Bushy in the street stock division as he picks up another feature win. And some rock'em sock'em action in that Flying Tiger feature. And as we had a chance to look at the replays here as we were working with a monitor this week, and well, it looks as though Robin Wood had an awful lot to do with that incident with Mark Lamberton.
Yeah, you saw what we saw. We were looking at the monitor, but what you probably didn't see is if you play slow motion, Robin Wood kind of helped Mark Lamberton a little bit now. It probably was not intentional on Robin's behalf, but it looked like Lamberton was far more guilty than he probably really was.
Well, as the 3 cars headed into turn number 4, the Weston car got a bit loose on its own, nothing to the point where he was going to loop it or anything, but Lamberton had to back off, and Wood just flat out didn't back off, drove into the rear end of Lamberton, and Lamberton got into Weston. It was a chain reaction accident.
Absolutely, one of those racing incidents. But I'll tell you what, if you ask Ron Weston after that accident, I'm sure he said, Mark just plain spun me. And of course, he did not see what happened with Mark. So you can't really blame anyone totally in that event. And of course, the thing to worry about is next week being the final Saturday night show, these guys have almost an entire month to fix their car. So let's hope this does not carry over.
Well, let's update the fans on the schedule for the upcoming week. Saturday night, 7 o'clock post time as Airborne moves up the post time to 7 o'clock. 100 laps for the late model Sportsman. Regular show for the Flying Tigers and Street Stocks. That's the last Saturday night racing card of the 1992 racing season. Sunday afternoon, if you want to watch a great race, go to Barrie, Vermont. Thunder Road, the site of the Milk Bowl. 3 50-lap segments, and no matter where you go, Steve, you're not going to see a more exciting race than the show that the American Canadian Tour puts on at the Milk Bowl.
Absolutely not. And besides having the 3 50-lap segment for the tours, of course, all the other divisions have their own schedule. All those cars in the tour have to qualify. That is interesting to see some of those cars try to qualify.
Stay with us here on MSM. Immediately following our program tonight, Goose Gagnon will be by with the Goose Gagnon Show with Plattsburgh North Star head coach John Williams. That's coming up immediately following MSM. For Greg Zindler, our cameraman tonight, Steve Hayes, I'm Rick Knowles. Until next Thursday night, when Steve and Greg will be bringing you the action here at Airborne, as I'll be at Bailey Avenue with the Plattsburgh North Stars as they take on Glens Falls. We hope to see a lot of people down there as well as up here at Airborne. So, Steve, the ball is yours next week.
Oh, thanks a bunch. Just passing in my court, huh? It'll be fun. I've got the 100 lapper, so this is going to be an experience.
Do me a favor, though. Zoom in.
I never hear the end of it from this guy.
That's going to wrap it up for this week. For everyone at MSM, I'm Rick Knowles. Have a good night, everybody.